Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. 1922 is the newest Netflix movie, and it is another movie that is based on Stephen King novel. In fact, a short story this time, and it is the fourth, I think it's the fourth adaptation of Stephen King's work this year to make it to the movies. So we had The Dark Tower, with mixed results you could argue. We have had It, which was fantastic. We've had Gerald's Game, which apparently is very good, but I haven't seen it yet. And we have this one, 1922. And this film tells a story of a rancher-stroke farmer called Wilfred James, played by Thomas Jane, who, along with his wife, played by Molly Parker, they are coming to the natural end of their marriage. The wife, in fact, owns the land and the property, and she wants to sell up and move to the city. And Thomas Jane is a very proud man. He loves where he is. He doesn't want to move. He enjoys doing what he's doing, and he, in actual fact, manipulates their son to basically join with him to do away with the mother, or they had to plan to do that. And as a result of their actions, for the rest of the movie, basically, they've got to live with what they have done, and they are slowly rotting away psychologically. And this is a movie that I feel will possibly divide some people. I actually really quite enjoyed this movie, but I could see somebody watching this and shrugging their shoulders and just saying, I didn't like that too much, because it's a very, very slow paced, slow burn of a movie. However, if you scratch under the surface, there's an awful lot to enjoy about this movie. But that's not to say that it doesn't have some issues, because I feel as though it does. I do think some of the slow pacing does make the film suffer. I think it has a very strong opening, and then it drags for half an hour, maybe a little bit longer, and then it really picked up. So I do feel like the middle of the second act of the movie does slow the movie down tremendously, but it's almost like, how do you adapt a short story into a full length movie? And again, this is one of those movies that I think would probably have benefited from being part of an anthology series. Maybe if they did an anthology series of movies based on Stephen King's short stories, I think this would have worked perfectly as like a 25-minute piece if they'd have really cut it down. But that's not to say that what we get isn't good, because it is. I think Thomas Jane gives an incredible performance, arguably the best of his career. I've not seen everything he's done, but I have been a fan of his for a long time. I think he's been quite underrated as an actor. But this is a tremendous performance by him, very, very powerful. And he is essentially the core of this movie. There are other characters in it. The son has a big part in the movie, but it is Thomas Jane's performance that really is a driving force for this movie, and it is very, very strong. It's a very tense movie at times. It does build a tension, the manipulations at the beginning, how he's actually, he's not a simple farmer kind of thing you might expect. He's a very clever man, very manipulative, and as he calls himself in the narration, he calls himself a conniving man, and he definitely is. You get that feel from him at the beginning of the movie, and once him and his son do what they do, the rest of the movie is them having to deal with their actions and the kind of bad luck, if you like, or curse some might call it, that follows them because of what they'd done. And essentially, within the space of a year, i.e. 1922, it all goes terribly wrong after their initial act. And the film is told, if you like, in narration by Thomas Jane's character. We see him at the beginning of the movie at a hotel, and he's basically writing his confession, and he's talking us through the movie and what he did. So it's told from his eyes. And the setting as well was very, very good. I think it was a very impressive setting. The cinematography was lovely. It had like a weird filter on it. It felt very old-fashioned. And it was well directed. It's just there's something holding me back from saying this is an outstanding movie because it just falls short of that. Everything about it is well made. The direction's good, the acting's good, the writing is good. Um, Everything about it is good, but I think um, the pace of the movie is ultimately what lets the movie down. And you would struggle to call this a horror. It's more of a thriller stroke horror. There are some horror elements into it, and when you watch it, you'll know what I mean. But I have to say, this is a movie I did enjoy, and I think if you're a fan of Stephen King, I think you would enjoy it too. So I think it is worth a watch to be sure.